Hi, everybody. It's so nice to see you. So my name's Alastair Moock, and this is Vance Gilbert.
Hi.
And this is the Opening Doors project is a series that my musical partner, Stacy Babb, and I started. Thank you, Stacy. We started this 3 years ago, but since many folks here are new to this, a little bit of background. So actually, a year before Opening Doors started, I began a program with Reggie Harris called Race and Song, and I know Reggie's been here with Greg Greenway and has done their Deeper Than the Skin program, so we started a program for kids. And a year after that, I started doing an online series of interviews with artists with help from the UU Church down in Melrose with some seed money. And I needed the first guest. I wanted to be a friend, somebody I know would help put me at ease, because the plan was to dive in and have some honest conversations about race, at the same time as we used music as a lubricant to bring people in, right? And so the first person I asked was my old friend Vance, and he was the perfect first guest. And the series went from there. So during the pandemic, we had a series of, I think, 8 with all sorts of wonderful people like Dom Flemons and more local folks like Pamela Means and Kemp Harris. And then we started doing live performances. So Opening Doors for the last 2 years has been doing live performances around Melrose and now increasingly other places. We have an education arm, and we're building up our education roster. And all of the programming we do is rooted in honest conversations, right? The idea that if this country is going to progress around understanding race and the way we treat each other, that we need to be able to talk. And I can't think of a better way to do that than through music. So that's how we ended up here, and that's why you're here at this show today. Okay? All right. In case it was unclear, so Vance and I are going to be playing some songs. We're going to be talking in between songs, and that's the format. And I just want to thank the Reading Cultural Council that helped support this show. We, Opening Doors, we have a fiscal sponsorship. We're a volunteer organization, so your donations help us continue to do the work that we do so that we can do these programs for free. And I'll tell you a little bit later about, we have a newsletter to sign up on and a survey to follow. We will sell brushes at your door. It's a whole business. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, he needs no introduction, the legendary Vance Gilbert.
Thank you so much. Thanks for coming out here. Thank you. Oh my God, I'm so good. Thank you. I have been called a lot of things in a lot of situations musically. This is the first time I've ever been referred to as lubricant. But I'll take it if it furthers my career. Maybe if I was a rapper, I'd even call myself Acoustic KY or something like that. I don't know what. Hey, he started it. If you're offended, he started this already. I'm just opening the conversation, as it were, because that's what we're here to do, is have conversations about things. You can explain this to the children later. You're welcome. Goodbye, Pluto. So long to your tradition and your solo life's ambition of just whirling around the sun. Goodbye, Pluto. Being number 9 was nice till you lost your planetary status. Now you're simply rocking ice. There are 8 that spin before you, and they use a ball ray that the sun gives to her children. Turn the night to day. So goodbye, Pluto. I know it doesn't seem quite fair. 3,000 million miles away, and God just leaves you there. And I think I understand when the spin gets out of hand. Sometimes all that's left is how to say goodbye. Goodbye, Pluto. All this bidding you do, and both of us know better that you're orbiting me through. Never mind them, Pluto. With one roll around the sun, 250 years go by. When that year is done, by the time, Pluto, they'll be dead and gone to dust, taking their equations with them, their opinions gone to rust and die. Think I understand when the spin gets out. Sometimes all that's left, how to say goodbye. Goodbye, old me. You were useful while you lasted. Now I'm dropping off that bastard that kept springtime out of reach. Farewell, you old familiar. As you track your way through space, there comes a time when all is done and comes a race. Oh, goodbye, Pluto. You'll be salty for a while, but a couple trips around old Sol, you'll be back in style, and I think I understand when the spin gets out of hand. Sometimes all that's left, how to say goodbye. Sometimes all that's left is how to say goodbye. Why would I do two? Okay, then do it. I'm not going to do two. You do one now. Okay. I mean, I am the guest, but...
Yeah, they came to see you.
They didn't come to see... They came to see us.
Oh, okay. Did you come to see us?
Are you really going to test them? Really?
Bunch of liars.
All right. All right, then. Yeah, I can play a song.
Oftentimes when we've done these, I haven't. It's actually been a great pleasure not to be a musician, to just be an interviewer and talker.
But you're making me work.
Exactly.
That's racist. I have to talk about it.
That's why I'm playing a song.
See what I did there? Opening the door.
He's opening the doors.
I'm opening the door. Man, they got the right guy for this.
Uh-huh. My wife is like a little snoring pancake. I have to flip her several times a night. Her heart's as warm as old Doc Miller's handshake. And if I should die tonight, it'd be alright. If this is what an illness is, I'm happy to be sick. There's a rubber wall around me, and I'm bouncing off of it. And when I go, I look back with a twinkle in my eye and say, this is what it is to be alive. My cat Pepper chases her own tail. and looks at me like, what else can one do? I'm always searching for your trail as well. I'd chase you down to Perth or Kathmandu. If this is what the world is like, I'm glad to just be here, chasing after you as each year chases after year. And if the darkness swallows us before the next we rise, this is what it is to be alive. How much heartache can one little heart take? How far can you bend a willow tree before the next hail makes our little cart break? I'm just glad you're here to ride with me. My little girl runs around the living room, picking up whatever she might see. I'm right behind her, running round there too. It's all a circle game for her and me. If this is what an ocean is, I'm glad to be at sea, bouncing off the waves like you come bouncing off of me. And if we sink, I'll think before I take my final dive. This is what it is to be alive. Yeah, this is what it is to be alive. Thank you. Thank you. Come talk. Let's talk a little bit. Come talk, my friend.
Here I come.
It's going to be a while. Here he comes.
I'm going to have to make that noise each time I get up. I apologize now. I'm at that age where you just make noises. Sorry. I don't hear any. That song, there's nothing racial in that song. So let's talk about something else.
I want to know why you like songwriting. Let's start there.
Why I like songwriting.
Why do you like songs?
Well, I started playing guitar and singing in college, but what I first started doing was playing bass. I wanted to play bass in sort of like funk and R&B bands, and then I realized that I really wanted to be more. You remember me from then. Oh my goodness! I forgot that you were we were friends. He's a cutie. Your husband's cute too. Anyway, yeah. So that's what I wanted to do, and then I realized I wanted to be out in front, and I just heard so much storytelling stuff coming out of the people that were standing out front playing guitar and doing whatever they were doing. There was a guy that played the coffee house at Connecticut College, Dave. I can't remember his name, but did you ever go? You never went out? Sarah, you're so funny. But he was so good, and he covered everything from. He did a lot of Kenny Rankin, and he did some James Taylor and Bonnie Raitt, and all the acoustic stuff that was the thing of that time. And I just wanted to be like him, but I also wanted to be sort of R&B-ish, funky at the same time. So I kind of did both. I wanted to be. My goal was to be like the acoustic folk version of Smokey Robinson or Barry White kind of thing. And then jazz came along, and that took me in another direction altogether. But rather than run down my whole history, that was the thing. That was it just took hold. And I was studying to be a biologist. And I managed to get my degree I have a degree in field biology, and I studied with the likes of some kind of famous people that stood in front of tractors and stuff. William Nearing and Bill Nolan. These are all people that were just known for they were like revered professors, and also had they had been to jail because they were activists, and so I got my degree in biology, and I really loved that. But the singer-songwriting thing took hold, and I just wanted to tell stories. I just wanted to do this.
Well, so here's the race question then. Here it comes.
Oh, here we go.
So at the very beginning that you started this, and I'm going to assume that the guy at Connecticut College was a white dude with a guitar? No?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Connecticut College was 97% white at that time when we went there.
So you were already navigating these worlds where the vast majority of people didn't look like you. And when you must have known when you started doing the acoustic folk thing at that era, because it was very different 30 years earlier, I think, in some ways, but it was a pretty white landscape, right? Like, what were the thoughts? How did you feel about entering that world in your skin?
I didn't know anything about landscape or worlds.
Okay.
I mean, you have to remember, I mean, most of us go to college somewhere between the ages of 17 and 20 years old. I was 16. I skipped second grade because I grew up in the Philadelphia school systems, and if you were black and you could count to a certain number between fingers and toes, they put you ahead and bust you, and you can have your opinions on busing or not, but I was bussed, and then halfway through second grade they put me in third grade, so that flipped my birthday into going to college at 16 years old. And so I was young enough to not, I wasn't smart as any 16-year-olds today, let's put it that way. I knew there was probably a landscape of sorts to deal with, but all I wanted to do was play. And the people that I was listening to that I loved, that were like the James Taylors and Kenny Rankins and such, were white guys that had a somewhat black sound. Mm-hmm. So it was already kind of pre-stirred and pre-mixed for me because of what I was selecting. Boy, am I going to gore this sacred cow? I was not a big Jackson Browne fan. I didn't get it. And anybody that, John Denver, Jackson Browne, those names and folks didn't hit me the way that the singer-songwriters that had Ray Charles albums at home hit me. And that would be James Taylor and Kenny Rankin and Bonnie Raitt, and then came Joni Mitchell, which I didn't know what the hell to do with, because she was also very soulful, very cool, but the language was so all over the map. And then I saw who she was playing with, and I saw a lot of Wayne Shorter and the people from Weather Report and the jazz groups were playing with Joni Mitchell, and that really attracted me because there was a blackness to that music, Joni Mitchell. I can't believe I'm saying there was a blackness to Joni Mitchell because of its semi-jazz roots.
Sure.
So that was an attraction to me once removed, as it were.
Right.
Yeah.
And that Aretha Franklin, the movie of Amazing Grace, and on the album it was a Carole King song, You Got a Friend, and James Taylor just had a big hit with it, and they brought it back into gospel, so they started with some of it, but You Got a Friend in Jesus, and then combined it with another gospel song.
I haven't seen the movie.
It's an amazing movie.
Wow, that's.
But that song in particular, it stood out to me because it's like, here's a song that, like you say, it's completely rooted in black culture.
Right.
Carole King wrote a song in her own voice, but one in which is rooted in black American culture, right? And here was Aretha Franklin taking that song and back.
Carole King wrote in a blackish voice.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. That was a different voice than. That was a different. I'll stand I'll stand on your dad's coffee table and shout it at the neighbor that she was writing. She did a lot of writing for, you know, just the world starts getting you down and people become too much for me to take. That's the Drifters. That's
Right.
okay.
Right,
So,
right.
But you're not going to do that with any Jackson Brown. Sorry.
No, but so this is, and we'll get to a song soon. This will, you guys start throwing things when you've had enough of the talking. But what I think is sort of fascinating about all of this in the music is that the music couldn't be more rooted in the history of the black and the white American experience, right? That's where folk music, pre-recording, came from two cultures that were steeped in acoustic music, that were singing, that were dancing, that were using music as a utilitarian, this is how we get people together, this is how you get laid, right? This is music, right? This is music. We dance in order to get married. And then from the very beginning of recorded music history, the very beginning in the 1920s, this is racialized immediately. So the very first records that are made, they separate out black and white music into race records and hillbilly records, right? And these are the two types of music for poor people, poor white people, poor black people, because the rich people are buying something else. They're buying what was pop music at the time. So this was, maybe we could make a little money selling records to poor white and black, but they have to be. But the music's all this, right?
Had been.
Always was.
Had been. I mean, coming out of the hills, I mean, the banjo was a black instrument.
Right.
And clogging and step dancing are, you know, amalgams of African and Irish people like doing the thing together.
Right. So the folk music, it is American history. It looks like this country. It's as mixed up. But when you come along and start playing the folk clubs in the 70s, 80s, when did you start? Late 70s?
I'm really playing in the folk clubs was late 80s for me.
Late 80s.
Yeah, I took
because you did other stuff first.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. I taught multicultural arts in the schools with kids, and I did. I cooked in restaurants for 3.5 years. So I didn't come out of college and do music right away because I suck. Yeah, I wasn't particularly good. I had an idea as to what I wanted to be and what I wanted to sound like, but I was not particularly good at it. And I'm still working.
Well, you got pretty good at it. My point, though, is that the music is clearly as embedded as we are together as a nation, right? But those folk clubs were not. So here you come, and you're a black man navigating very, very white spaces. Was that weird? Was it hostile? Did you feel as natural as pie, or did you find your way through it? How did you do it?
It wasn't a struggle because all that first 10 years of my life were all black neighborhood in Philadelphia. And I knew that because everybody in the neighborhood was black. And then we moved to a suburb of Philadelphia called Willingboro, New Jersey, which is right across to Delaware. And that was a very mixed neighborhood. And every third house was the same. Ranch Colonial, Cape Cod, Ranch Colonial, Cape Cod, Ranch Colonial, Cape Cod. And every family was different. Black, white, Puerto Rican, black, white, Chinese, black, white, Samoan. It was a real mix of people. But I started to, I was still into my R&B, funky kind of thing that I took from Philadelphia and my brother that was 10 years older than me. However, you couldn't help but get infused by what my friends down the street that I was walking to high school with, who were white.
Yeah.
And you couldn't help but take in the Beach Boys, really. I mean, and everything that they brought along. So
you were practiced. You had spent plenty of time throughout your life, which is pretty true to most black American experience, right? Most black Americans are much more used to navigating very white spaces than vice versa.
Well, yes, and it depends on the level of your practice. Some people were seemingly doused with the holy water of some sort of equality, and then others were under constant duress. But at the picnic, everybody would talk about where, you could hear the parents talking about their practice and how they were navigating it, but being where we were was, I was more shielded from it than, I mean, yeah, there were times when, you know, I was called the N-word by people, but I also had, I always had white friends that would defend me because we just loved each other, but there was a definite line from time to time. I was, I was soft and chubby and everything else, but I had an incredible sense of self. There's no getting around that. I was such a strange boy. 40 years or so back then. Fat with big, thick old glasses. I had trouble making friends. Cruising through my neighborhood could easily have come to no good end. Till I stumbled into the workshops of old white men. Call your mother, you can stay. That's about all they'd ever say. Then they'd take the lid off of some old wooden box, and inside would lay a gem made of string and spring, wood and glue. Right then and there, I'm sure I knew firsthand the wrong greetings of old white men. Oh, white man, you're teary-eyed, December 7th. Oh, white man, salute every flag they see. Oh, white man, didn't care how cool I could be. A drop of glue will do to helping men. Put the cap on when you're through, said old white man. It was all ball-peen hammers and calipers, dovetail joints and acetone, tubes and printed circuits, screws and spokes and wheels. The difference between truth and opinion. When you're old enough, be sure you vote. And never trust a woman wearing more than 3-inch heels. Oh, white men, living cross-cut chainsaw lives. Oh, white men, they don't talk back to their wives. Oh, white men, thanks to them, I can sharpen your kitchen knives with a stone. Sometimes when I'm alone, I wonder what became of old white men. They synchronize their watches as on and on time marches. Their belts need extra notches as their waistlines grow big and round. I call their wives up often, and I carry their husbands' coffins as these gray hairs of my own chase me down. Over the years I outgrew my awkward situation. I went to college, joined a cause, became the black man I never was. Over the years I learned to view old white men with suspicion, 'cause I'd heard the world was run to ruin by old white men. Last Thursday I was hunched over my Briggs and Stratton mower, trying to adjust the carburetor when this kid come bending my ear, always bugging me when I'm working. So I said, make yourself seem useful, son. Clean the carbon off that spark plug, wipe it down, and hand it here. Oh, white man, look me squarely in the eyes. Oh, white man, just stand there with that sanding block, son. We'll make it so these pieces fit again. Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Such a beautiful song.
Thank you. Thank you, Moock. Appreciate it.
Vance came over yesterday. He said, why are we doing this? Because I said, I don't know. I just wanted to see you. And you had just come from building planes at home. Vance is a nerd, everybody.
What's sad is that everybody here already knows
Yeah.
that. Everybody else is like, duh.
Yeah.
And then we tried to play tennis.
Then we played tennis, though.
That was ugly, man.
I look good.
Huh?
I look good.
You did look good. I did a lot of this.
Yeah, he did a lot of...
But, I mean, my strokes look good, but
Yeah.
they just...
We were well matched a couple years ago. We'll keep working at it. Love it or leave it, it's us against them. We're gonna make it great once again. This once was the home of the free and the brave. We all had it good here, except for the slaves. When we came here, this country was pure and pristine. The skies were all blue and the trees were all green. We fought for the rights of the nation we'd built, and all here rejoiced, except the natives we killed. And then we built cities with roads and great forts, protected by great men aloft in great forts. And then came the railroads that stretched to the seas. We all had it good, unless you were Chinese. Then Abraham Lincoln, the guy with the beard, said no more to slavery, so that disappeared. That was the end of race problems. We know black people were equal, except for Jim Crow. Well, the late 1800s were elegant, grand, Victorian houses, trust in the land. The right to your income and vote you possessed for all of us here, barring those who had breasts. Then depression and war kind of soured some years, but we all pulled together, got back in gear. Freedom secured in the home of the champs, offer not valid in internment camps. The 50s, that's when things really improved. The GI Bill and your mortgage approved. Employment was high and the future was bright for everyone, all of us, if you were white. And that's what we mean by be great again. Let's get ourselves back to where we were when freedom, prosperity, peace all prevailed for the Caucasian, Christian, straight, middle-class male. Love it or leave it, it's us against them. We're gonna make it great once again. This once was the home of the brave and the free, the world's greatest nation. If you looked like me. Thank you.
So we had a talk yesterday. He was ambivalent to play that song. He says, well, it's so on point, and, it's, blah, blah, blah. It's just like, and I was railing, oh my gosh, this is a really honest conversation.
Yes,
There's a certain stripe of social justice song that tells you what to think and barely rhymes, and it hides underneath the guise of let's do this all together, and it often just makes me grit my teeth, and I'm old and I can go ahead and say it like that, and you can take me aside later and say, but it has a place today, it's important. I say, I don't care. You need to work. The song needs work. It needs to be a song. It needs more intensive songing for me. Don't just tell me how to feel and how to think. That song has vignettes of how to feel and how to think, but it's so cleverly done, and it's so well rhymed, and all of the things that we get it. We get that the story is, we get that. Well, everybody knows that story. Most of the audiences we play for will know that story and all, but it's so well done that it gets an A+ pass. And that makes, it does. And that makes me want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about, and I'm going to use the term blanketly because you can be one of these to pretty much anything. How much, and I know the answer because you shared some things with me yesterday that were fatiguing you. How does it feel to be an ally? Have to be white and think black? Or be white and think how black people think about you being white and the blackness that I'm being in the midst of your whiteness.
I'm really glad you asked.
You know what's sad is that lady understood everything we said. She said, you're damn right. What he said.
Let me tell you, it's really, really hard. It's a lot of hard work. You wouldn't understand. My life's very hard.
But did he just say it's a black thing you wouldn't understand? That's a black line. And I also want to thank the black people for coming out to this tonight. But go ahead.
Even that word ally it's so complicated, right? And I will say, here's my vulnerable moment. So, I've been a liberal my whole life. Does that get me? Should I get an award for that? Maybe. I was raised by liberals. In fact, my dad's here. My parents were both Peace Corps or Peace Corps adjacent, spent their whole life working on education, health issues in Africa. So I was raised in a family that was deeply rooted in a completely different black culture, right? Black culture from my house was like an African museum. And I thought that made me understand race more. And if anything, I think it made me even more confused because the black American experience is so specific. And the fact is, I spent most of my life feeling fear of conversation, right? When I'm in the presence, including with you, years ago, I would feel this nervousness, right? And I would feel this.
Well, I make anybody nervous.
Well, you do. You're specific.
You never know what's going to come out of my mouth. Squirrel. So.
No, I think I felt that need to sort of show, right? I'm going to show you I'm an ally. What can I say that will prove that I'm comfortable? And so I was always on edge. And I think that's why I've never really been able to articulate this, but I used to feel the same way around LGBTQ folks. I wasn't raised in a way that made me, how would I have been, right?
Right, exactly.
On my playground, we were scared shitless. There was a house adjacent to the playground where apparently, I never saw them, but there were two gay men living there. And man, the way kids on the playground talked about that house, it was haunted, right? Like if you walked by it, somebody might come grab you from behind or something, like terrified. I would cross the street. And again, like I'm not being taught that there's anything wrong, it's fine, but it's fear. It's a fear at a base level. And my whole life, I felt that, like, I want to untie this thing. I don't know how to untie it. And I met some nice lesbians along the way.
That is the title of a song if there ever was.
Yeah. I met some nice lesbians.
I've met some nice lesbians along the way. I didn't know what it was like for them to be gay. I've met some...
Go ahead, please. Sorry, I cut you off. Sorry.
No, it was just getting good.
It was good.
Then I ended up with a kid, an LGBTQ kid, but I had already, like, I had spent enough time, that's what it is, right? Getting comfortable and learning, like, there was a point at which I realized that I could talk with somebody who was gay, and their being gay was not the most interesting thing about them anymore. That was the point where I felt like, this is another human being, and we can just be human beings together. And then I thought, now how do I do that around race? Because all of those feelings continued to be there. And it's still very much a work in progress. But I took a very deep dive about 5 years ago where I just felt like I need to figure this out for myself. And I want to be able to talk, including with my friends like you. I want to be able to talk and be myself. And but in order to get there, I'm not a reader, but I read a lot of books. I talked with a lot of people. I talked with some pretty smart white folks who had figured a lot of stuff out for themselves, including my friend Dan Zanes. And then I reached out and I started doing some grassroots work with a group of children's musicians, and we called Family Music Forward. And it was about, that whole group was about challenging some of the systems. You might not think children's music has a lot of barriers up, but as much as any genre, right? And the proof of that is that the same people kept winning the same awards, and they all kind of looked like me, right? And so this group started as a way to challenge some of that. And on the back of some of that work, and some dramatic stuff happened personally for myself during that process. I was nominated for a Grammy Award for a second time for children's music.
And I knew him.
And he did. Vance knew me.
I knew him.
That second, I don't usually talk about this in these spaces, but it's important to the conversation. So in that period of time, in the midst of this work of allyship, of interracial challenging, all of a sudden I got, here's this big matzo ball, right? This is yours. It was the year that George Floyd was murdered. It was 2020. And for much of white America, it was one of those things that happens every 15 years or so where white Americans go, oh, there's still racism. I didn't realize. I thought we'd finished that because Obama, you know. And I got nominated with a group of 4. There were 5 of us, all white performers. And some of the best albums of the year, there was a great hip-hop album. There was a lot of, it was off. And it felt particularly off in that year. So 3 of us declined the nomination, and which was really hard. And it was really, it was hard because it led to a whole bunch of bullshit. It led to white savior narratives and national press and a lot of other stuff. So it was like getting in the deep end of the pool.
Yeah, you're not going to win because there's a certain amount of privilege in saying that you don't want a Grammy.
100%.
And I remember coming up to you at a party somewhere and basically saying, "Hey, what the hell is wrong with you?"
Yeah.
So
Several black people did, by the way, Dan.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. I think one of the greater things in all of this, in all your, I'm saying this as lovingly as possible, in your kvetching about it, is to know that there's a conversation to be had, because many people don't. That's the thing to know, is that there's something to talk about. I have a friend in Colorado Springs, Colorado, that should tell you enough right now. And he says, the problem with race in America today is that we're always talking about it. And what do I say to this guy? My Buddhist Judeo-Christian part of me loves him because I know if there was a lava pit, he'd grab me by the collar and save me. And that's my litmus test for loving somebody, whether they'd grab, that's all it takes. I know this sounds strange, but that's all you need to be able to do is save my ass from a lava pit and I'm good. You have to have no, don't shake your head, because you have to have a baseline for whether somebody's worth your time or not. And that's the real deal. You have to, how do I just ignore, this guy's an asshole, and just prance off into the sunset? I can't, because as Loretta Ross, the great equality teacher, would say, there's a circle of people that are worthy of calling in rather than calling them out. You got to call these people in, and if they're worthy enough to love me, then that's a shoot. Let me play a song about it. Okay. Running my mouth with you about it. You just nodding your head with your. I know what my Grammy. Dumbass. I'm not taking a Grammy. I'd have taken that Grammy. I'd have taken a Grammy and about $100 and been very happy with that. But I'm just mumbling now. I'm just mad now. Now you got me mad. This is a political song about that very thing, about being in somebody's face who is... I know who you voted for. I hear when your news come on. I see the kind of truck you drive, and that sign stuck up on your lawn. I ain't here about your squeaky gate or what WD-40 can do. I'm just sitting uninvited on your front porch with you. Something where there once was nothing. That's one crazy ass disease. Nothing said can bring her back. At least on that we both agree. Nothing but some crickets and these rocking chairs. But another day you made it through. I'm just sitting uninvited on your front porch with you. I recall how she got mad when you cussed me across the fence. You said I was some kind of so-and-so. Hell, that seemed like it was yesterday. Hell, that seems so long ago. Lightning bugs is all around us. I know you call them fireflies. Either way, they twinkle in the black, trying to imitate a starry sky. I know you appreciate this gesture, but they just bugs. That's what they do. Ain't no need of saying nothing. I'm just sitting uninvited on your front porch with you. I'm just sitting uninvited on your front porch with you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
What do you think?
Huh? Yeah, play some white thing.
I didn't finish that thought quite about all that work to be able to understand each other, right, is a starting place. But then you need to show up. We need to show up for each other. And that's work. You know, it's more than just conversations. It's taking on the hardships that each of us in this country face in different ways and making them on our own, which is exhausting. It really is. It really is. But that exhaustion is what I think it is to be in it, right? I live next door in Melrose, and right now in Melrose, we had 2 racial incidents that made it into the Boston papers in 1 week. They didn't both happen in the same week. They made the papers in the same week. And I'm part of a group that has been working with Boston families for 4 years, and there's nothing surprising about it. And I promise you it's happening here in Reading. It's happening in all these suburban towns. The use of the N-word in our schools is rampant. And when these things happen, so many white folks show up and they say, I can't believe this is happening in my town. And you want to say, I can't believe that you can't believe this is happening in your town. It happens every week. It's so easy. That's the privilege. It's not the house. The privilege is being able to ignore it, to think it's not happening, right? And that's a privilege that's not available to folks in our country who aren't white. So I think the work is to show up. Here's a guy who showed up. I'm not going to suggest that we show up necessarily in the way he did. But here's a guy in history who showed up. There was a book on our mutual friend Mark Orelli. I was living in Iowa and staying at his house, and he had a book on his shelf called Cloud Splitter by Russell Banks, who grew up around here in Stoneham. He spent much of his time in Stoneham growing up. Wonderful writer. I said, that looks really interesting. Can I borrow it? And Mark said, no. And I said, why not? And he said, because you'll write a song about it, and I'm going to write a song about it. And I said, I won't write a song. It just looks like a good book. But it was such a good book. So I wrote it by mistake, and he was very nice about it in public. This is a double dropper. A father farmer far off in the hills, rich in family, poor in dollar bills, struggling with the call of heaven's host, fighting all the demons and the ghosts. Heard a cry from far off in the south. He turned his gaze away from his own house, found the battle he was born to fight, took his sons and left that very night. The current conflict raging in the west, Lawrence, Kansas next to face the test. Father and the sons come overland. Within a year there's blood on all their hands. Every man's affected when he kills. Death's a mighty bitter tasting pill. John Brown heard the whisper in his ear, now bring to the South what you've done here. With Cloud Splitter, open up the sky, make this country open up its eyes. With Cloud Splitter, what's it gonna take? How's a nation fix a great mistake? October 16th, 1859. 21 men waiting for his sign to cross the wide Potomac to a shore where slavery's hold was cold as it was sure. Harper's Ferry fell without a fight, and 60 prisoners taken on the night. A fully loaded federal armory, but no slaves came to claim the weaponry. By next day's end, the army shot them down. They captured some, including old John Brown. Dragged them to a local court in chains. 2 months later, all of them was hanged. On the stand, John Brown addressed the court, his right hand on the Bible for support. Remember, those in bonds is bound with them. I'm bound by laws of God, not laws of man. A cloud splitter, open up the sky. Make this country open up its eyes. Well, cloud splitter, what's it gonna take? How's a nation fix a great mistake? Within 2 years, the Civil War had begun. There's many reasons, John Brown being one. Though Abe Lincoln never did intend, he finished what Brown started in the end. Washington is on my dollar bill, Jefferson's memorial on the hill. John Brown gave his life for our great sin. The textbooks almost never mention him. Racial fear still fuels this nation's fire. The smoke is thick and always getting higher. Up in heaven, John Brown sits and cries. Come back, John, open up our eyes. Yeah, cloud splitter, open up the sky. Make this country open up its eyes. Yeah, cloud splitter, what's it gonna take? How's a nation fix a great mistake? Cloud splitter, open up the sky. Make this country open up its eyes. I threw Abraham Lincoln under the bus twice and only 3 songs. Do you guys have, we have got a microphone here. Maybe you got some questions for Vance or for us together? Would you be interested in that sort of thing?
No, they're not.
No, they're not interested at all.
Thank you. He's the one who said matzo ball. Kvetch. That's what I probably had. I'm not explaining this to you, Peter. I was trying to get the V out, and it got stuck. I think that's what happened. So let's talk about marginalized people. I know you want me to be more on the mic, but I just don't give a shit. Let's talk about marginalized people at war. And this is a fighter pilot on his deathbed. And it's called Wingman. And I don't have music to it yet. I'm going to let you folks in on the thing. I wrote this lyric. Joe, I've been fighting this lyric for a month and a half now. And I wrote the lyric, and when you go out with them two little loud-ass dogs of yours, no, you got some new dogs. He's one of my best friends, two of my best friends back here, my neighbors across the street. I babysat the older daughter while the younger daughter was being born. And I know the book I was reading the night that Sierra was born. It was European Transport Aircraft Since 1910 by John Stroud. Putnam, as in Putnam, Amelia Earhart's husband, copyright 1964. Anyway, I've never been so stuck. I wrote this lyric, and I don't want to put any music to it yet because I don't want to screw it up. I don't want to get music in my head to this lyric that I can't get out of my head and have the song wait for such a long time. So that's been my writing process, and it's really a pain in the ass right now. It has stulted me, and I've gone on to do some other little things, but I can't wait to get some music to this because I like the lyric, and it's called Wingman, and it goes like this. Picture a clock on its back, and he's at 12 straight ahead. I'm at 4 at my captain's shoulder. That's a wingman. What he can't see on his 6, I'm his eyes there instead. Got his back like a good soldier. That's a wingman. I'd like to tell the story of some enemy invasion and a 2-man team that won the war from our corner of the sky. But the beep of that machine over by the nurse's station will be my indication that my tank is running dry. And what I whispered into that mask at 40,000 feet, only God and the whistling wind will ever know. And if it keeps me out of heaven and the arms of my sweet Savior, then so be it. Let me go out as a wingman. He retired in 1973, somewhere where the fishing was great. He took a collar full of stars when he died in 98. His wife called to tell me, laughing through her tears, she said, I know how much you love him, but she got no goddamn idea because beep of that machine over by the nurse's station will be my indication that my tank is running dry. And what I whispered into that mask at 40,000 feet, only God and the whistling wind will ever know. And if it keeps me out of heaven and the arms of my sweet Savior, then so be it. Let me go out as a wingman. Bridge, 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 bridge. I'd have to kill you if I told you where we flew and where we landed, because you don't have the clearance and you'd never understand. But now I'm coming in hot for final, and the good Lord has his reasons why I was born and died when I couldn't love another man. And the beep of that machine over by the nurse's station will be one long tone to tell me that my tank is running dry. And what I whispered into that mask at 40,000 feet, only God and the whistling wind will ever know. And if it keeps me out of heaven and the arms of my sweet Savior, then so be it. Let me go out as a wingman. Right? Right, I mean. Ooh, that was pretty good. So I am going to do two. I have another kind of song that deals with this thing. I don't really like karate. I don't want to hit nobody. I would rather talk some sense than deal with all this self-defense. There's a boy I know in homeroom. Other boys make fun of him. He would rather sing with the girls in chorus than hang out with the boys in gym. Didn't understand the reason when he passed me the other day, why his lip and nose were bleeding and 3 other boys ran the other way. So I followed them where they were running to a corner of the school playground where the honeysuckle climbs the fences where there's nobody else around. I politely asked them why they did it. I told them that it didn't seem fair. He always helped me out in algebra,
That's when a fist came through the air. That fist caught me on my shoulder. I never had a chance to run. Three bigger boys just started swinging. Three bigger boys against just one. Sorry that I tore my jacket when I made the first boy slip. Sorry that the second one's teeth found their way through his bottom lip. Didn't mean to make the third boy pee his brand new khaki pants, curled up in a ball before me. Sorry about that circumstance. I don't mind this week's detention. I look out where my schoolmates play, see the singing boy head high walking, see the other boys clear the way. I don't really like karate. Huh? That was the second one. That first one was one.
She's always like this, Vance. That's Wendy.
What? I'm a folk singer. I got tons of those at home. Don't worry, that's fine.
You guys have any questions? Boy, I've never met a crowd that was so content. Okay. Amelia, can you help us? The questions could, be about anything.
Feels like Oprah.
Hello there. Vance, are you sure that Wingman wants a melody? I'm a big fan of spoken word recitation.
Yeah, me too. Yes, I hear you. It's a great question. I really want to give it a shot because I have this. I can do that. But if I can come up with a Joni Mitchell or Richard Thompson sounding thing with that tells a story musically on that, I will be over the moon. But if I don't, I'll memorize it and do it as a poem. It's great. Yeah, I'm a fan of spoken word too, but I'd really love to hear that roll somehow or another, so that particularly, there's something musical in it, in its cadence, and there's also something musical in it with the beep of that machine in the background. There's things that say it's crying out for music. So thank you. Yeah, there's that. Mind your business, sir.
I'm going to stick my neck out. So I don't like karate either.
You don't like what?
I don't like karate either. I don't like to need to use it. And I'm tying this question to the theme of opening doors and race conversation. So when I see someone hurt or marginalized, I want to do something. And then there's the question of white saviorship and when to jump in and when to wait and what to do. And I don't know if I'm out of line for this conversation, but that karate song, just that I think it's great that the defense happened, but the white savior accusations now too just reverberate for me about when to
Got you,
jump in.
got you. You do realize I'm not white, first of all. And the narrators and such in that song can be pretty much anything. The other thing about that song, it was more about this.
I do realize you're not white.
Okay,
by the
okay.
way.
Thank you.
See, you're halfway there.
Thank you for answering
But I
me that.
am.
But what I'm saying is that the song was more about defending. I was hoping that that song painted a picture of that little boy going up to these three and asking them, starting the conversation, why did that happen? And they went at him, and he had to do something. So he could either be Christ-like and take the blows and turn the other cheek, or he could defend himself. And he was asking them, fourth verse, very clearly, why were they treating him that way? And what he got was a knuckle sandwich, and they paid for it. So, in light of that, the antagonists, the subject, and the protagonist, I almost don't know what you're asking.
But I do. I would like to answer that away from the song, if I can.
How can we
Should
do
I
that?
jump
We're
in?
talking about the song. The
No.
song has nothing to do with white supremacy. Much.
No,
No, I didn't. I
I
talked
think it
about
jogs something.
savior. White
Being a savior.
Someone white jumping, and I realize that you're black, but someone white jumping in to help someone in a situation.
Okay, that's not what
Okay.
the song was about, right? But can I take that question?
In a sort of answering sort of white saviorism way, go right ahead.
Yeah, let me do that. Yeah. Look, that question, and it's important, right? Like, we need to be able to ask questions, and I'm talking here to the white folks in the room, which is all
The
of you.
room.
Yeah. Listen, this question of how to act without harming it's important, but it's not as complicated as I think so many of us make it, right? The job is to help. But people don't always know how to help, right? So you do the work that you can do to learn how to be helpful, right? And that takes talking and reading and especially listening. But none of those things are an excuse for not acting. We need to act. So here's the thing that I've learned the most in my journey through some of this work is the biggest single thing that each and every one of us, not just in the white world, but in human world, need to learn is how to make mistakes. And it's okay to make mistakes. The thing that shuts so many people down, one of the first books I read was Waking Up White, written by a woman from Winchester. It's a wonderful book about learning. In fact, it's called Waking Up White and Finding Myself in the Story of Race. The narrator, the writer, was, I'm going to keep going with my Jewish heritage, was verklempt in a way that I never have been. I've always been willing to talk and be involved more than she was. She was so shut down. And she talks a lot about sort of WASP culture and politeness, that she was sort of smothered by the politeness that she was taught growing up. And as she learned that race existed in America, that dynamic matters, and that she had a place in the story, her first response was to get smaller. And she was terrified of making mistakes, right? When I started getting really involved at a grassroots level with interracial work, I made every mistake I could make. And when people would say, the way you're helping isn't helping, everything that I've learned in my life made me want to say, no, you don't understand. I really am helping. Until I learned how to go, okay, well, I'm going to listen to that. And then the next thing was to decide, that just because somebody says you're doing it wrong also doesn't necessarily mean you're doing it wrong. Right? So it's complicated. I have a song called Be a Pain, and the last line in there says, when you're faced with laws you know are just insane, about gun laws in our country. And a woman wrote me a letter, and she said, I love your work. I've followed you for years. I'm really upset about this line. I have mental health issues. I'm part of a group of people, and we're trying to get rid of language like insane and crazy because it marginalizes people. And again, my first reaction was to say, no, you're wrong. That's wrong. My second reaction was, well, maybe I should just, whoever says that they feel harmed by something, then that means you can't say it anymore. My third reaction is, I'm going to sit with that for a while, but for right now, I don't think you're right. So for right now, I'm going to stick, you don't have to throw out all of your belief systems because somebody told you it upset them. But all of us can sit in that long enough to think, well, maybe I have something to learn here. And eventually we might. This guy makes mistakes all the time. Right? We were talking about it yesterday. Because he's funny.
Sushi, sorry.
Because he's funny. And being funny is hard in 2024.
It's gotten harder.
It's gotten harder.
And there's a lot for me to learn. Mm-hmm. Let me circle back around to you, lady. Couple of things. Two little pieces of story. Malcolm X, in the autobiography of Malcolm X, as he was starting the movement and the movement was taking steam, there was a knock on the door of the headquarters. I'll never forget this passage in the book. And it was a middle-class, red-headed white girl with her bags, and she set her bags down and said, I want to help. I want to be part of what's going on here, and I want to be a part of it. And he said, the best thing you could do for us is get out of the way and die. Oh, my ass. That was the time. That was the time. That's what he needed to be able to say his people. Isn't that hard? However, near the end of the book, two things he regretted. After he made his pilgrimage to Mecca and saw all the faces that were nearly white, and it left him legless when he came back, one of the things he regretted was sending that girl away. Because, and many people think, conspiracy theory-wise, that that's one of the things that got him killed, is that he was starting to develop the idea of allyship. He was starting to see people as more than the colors that they were, which is what he did for survival, which is where that whole idea of, well, there's no such thing as a black person being racist. There's no such thing as reverse racism. That's just protection. But it was starting for him, it was starting to move that way. Let me bring it closer to home with the song. I played it first time it was a year before my album release at Passim. It didn't make it to the album, so I played it on this one night at Club Passim. And a man and his wife came up to me, and he had to be this tall, and he came up and his lip was quivering, and he said, that song, Honeysuckle Fences, meant so much to me. He says, it meant so much to me. And he burst into tears and ran off. He burst into tears and headed up the stairs out of Club Passim, and his wife just, and I said, is there anything I can do, or what? I mean, clearly the guy is moved. She says, no, you don't understand. He was one of the kids that did the defending, and he has not processed it yet as to what he had to do to defend his lesser being friends around him. That's not saviorism, that's protectionist. That's something that he was compelled to do, and nothing else to do. Anybody here study martial arts even for a minute? Self-defense? What are the first thing they tell you to try to do if you are in a situation that you're being accosted. The best and first thing you can do. Do you remember? Huh? Exactly. Run. Run. That's what they teach you to do. Find a way out. Fighting is the last thing to do. However, I constructed that song, so there's a honeycomb of fences. I followed them where they were running to a corner of the school playground where the honeysuckle climbs the fences and there's nobody else around. That boy had no choice. What he did to defend himself ended up showing these boys he's not to be messed with or anybody else in his purview. That's self-protection for anybody of any color, stripe, and those that have the power to protect them, which is all we're asking our allies to do, those that are in position. I ain't gonna lecture you people no more. You know. Play a damn song, Alastair.
All right, okay.
Tired of hollering at these people. Damn it. You better buy some CDs too. I'll kick somebody's ass. Get over here. Pay what you want. We don't care. Whatever you want.
How are you doing?
I'm fine. I'm mad now. Where you going, lady? Well, that's my job. You've seen my shows before. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, when Reggie and Harris and I go and we talk to kids a lot, it's a different conversation, right? We present in a different way because kids process in a different way. It's actually much more wonderful. Although you guys are fantastic, but you know, it's open. It's open, and we're honest. And when Reggie and I started, we were talking about race because this was my instinct, right? We're going to go have honest conversations with race, but it ended up being about everything. And one of the things that we do is we sort of talk about our identity a little bit at the beginning of a program. You may see some differences between us, but we also have a lot of things in common, and we'll kind of go through what we have in common. We have way more in common than we do apart, and that's part of learning, right? Reggie, as a black man, has privileges that black women don't have. As a straight man, he has privileges that LGBTQ folks don't have. And, you know, learning that was very helpful to me, I think, in learning that we all have work to do, including you and me. Yes, sir.
More you than me, but go ahead.
Yeah. Will you help me sing this one? Piper picked a peck, used his good intentions, a pack of broken promises, a pile of busted dreams. You can't get down the road when you're headed all directions. You better pick a path because you're busting at the seams. Everybody got to find their own way to heaven. There ain't nobody gonna show you the way. The sun will keep on rising and the sun will keep on setting. Ain't no tomorrow, better live for today. Well, you're talking in your sleep, you're sleeping when you're walking, you wish for when you're waking, and you're waiting for a sign. Open up the door, can't you hear the future knocking? It's saying better live because you're running out of time. Everybody got to find their own way to heaven. Ain't nobody gonna show you the way. The sun will keep on rising and the sun will keep on setting. Ain't no tomorrow, better live for today. Your turn. Everybody got to find their own way to heaven. Ain't nobody gonna show you the way. Everybody got to find their own way to heaven. Ain't nobody gonna show you the way. The sun will keep on rising, the sun will keep on setting. Ain't no tomorrow, better live for today. The sun will keep on rising and the sun will keep on setting. Ain't no tomorrow, better live for today. Let's try the whole thing. Everybody got to find their own way to heaven. Ain't nobody gonna show you the way. The sun will keep on rising and the sun will keep on setting. Ain't no tomorrow, better live for today. You know the universe was born without a father or a mother. There wasn't a beginning and there'll never be an end. But you and I were born to die. We're headed for the gutter. Better get your shit together before you wake up and you're dead. Hey, everybody's got to find their own way to heaven. Ain't nobody gonna show you the way. The sun will keep on rising and the sun will keep on setting. Ain't no tomorrow, better live for today. If you play extra loud, it makes up for getting the notes wrong. I've written many songs about the many ways I love you. I can't say nothing new because there's nothing new to say. The feeling just gets deeper, so I'm thinking you're a keeper. And if there's no tomorrow, I'm glad you're here today. Everybody got to find their own way to heaven. Ain't nobody gonna show you the way. I think the sun will keep on rising, the sun will keep on setting. Ain't no tomorrow, better live for it. Everybody got to find their own way to heaven. Ain't nobody gonna show you the way. I think the sun will keep on rising, yes, the sun will set. Ain't no tomorrow, better live for today. No, there ain't no tomorrow, better live for today. Do that other one of yours. Do that other one. I want to sing with you one.
All right.
I think this will be our last song. I hope you guys have enjoyed this. Have you enjoyed it? So listen.
I wish they would have played more and not talk so much.
I know.
We know those things. I mean, come on, we're in the Northeast, for Christ's sake. Goodness gracious, they're two talents on stage, and they're going to run their mouths about race. I mean, look how... I mean,
We do get some of that feedback. That's
I'm
true.
sure you do. My
But you know,
golly
you can
gosh.
see Vance all the time on Monday nights online, and he'll play songs for you to put you to bed. You can go see him in his own shows where he still will frankly talk just as much, but just talk more nonsense than tonight. There's his latest CD, The Mother of Troubles, over there. It's beautiful. I would encourage you to sign up for our Opening Doors newsletter. If you'd like to make a donation, you can, and we'll send you a survey afterwards, an email, because we're learning as we go. Okay? And we're gonna sing one more song that Vance wrote. It's just gorgeous.
Y'all have any snacks over in your house? Oh, man. All right. The dogs ate them? Your dogs are so cute, man. I love these new dogs. They're great. This is just another example of I hate introducing and telling songs to what the song's about. But one of the things about this song is that even within a culture of people, nobody's absolutely getting things right. Oh, thank you, Minister Amy, by the way, for having your space.
Amelia Attridge, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you to the church and the volunteers tonight, too.
Minister Amy's up here preaching tomorrow morning.
Good morning, and welcome to the BAC. We call it the Big Ass Church. It's a big ass church. It really is.
You know you like that, don't you? You like that. That is going on some. This is gonna be some stationery and T-shirts, and the diocese will have your head, but it'll be worth it for as long as you. But Congregationalists are kind of like Unitarians a little bit. It's true, you know. Great in here is great. The only time you hear the words Jesus Christ in here is when the janitor falls down the stairs. Anyway, let me get to this song here. Thank thank you so much for hanging out with us and me. I wish I had the tools back then to see those fools who fools back then and stand tall enough in my own black skin when they rang the recess bell. See, I was part of that cartel of kids that did that awful thing we did, locking hands in a circle, shouting, hey, look, it's Black Rose Shell. It wasn't like I didn't have a choice. I'm as guilty as those other girls and boys, with satisfaction at your silver tears as down your face they fell. Didn't matter what they screamed or yelled. For once it wasn't someone else. Point a chubby light-skinned finger, singing, hey, look, it's Black Rose Shell. I never had the chance to say I'm sorry. You never had the chance to tell me to go on straight to hell. If I could take it back in time, what a different story I could tell. Oh, God bless the Black Rose Shell. Now I've been punching bag and bully bait, familiar with how they operate. A fat ass sissy they could hate. Oh, I knew the blueprint well. But here my skin was lighter than, like my black ended where yours began. Licensed to join that loathsome clan, singing, hey, look, it's Black Rose Shell. I never had the chance to say I'm sorry. You never had the chance to tell me to go on straight to hell. If I could take it back in time, what a different story I could tell. Oh, God bless the Black Rose Shell. Now maybe you're a lawyer or a Pentecostal minister, supermodel, homemaker, doctor, or a judge. Maybe you have children sitting around your kitchen table, and each and every one you teach to never hold a grudge. Or maybe you've forgotten, like the pages of a calendar, coming fast, flipping past, each one looking the same. Maybe you recall a boy caught up in that broken crowd, for 50 years still haunted by that name. I never had the chance to say I'm sorry. You never had the chance to tell me to go on straight to hell. If I could take it back in time, what a different story I could tell. Oh, God bless the Black Rose Shell. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Thank you so much for coming out tonight, everybody.
Your curator, Alastair Moock. Give him a round, please.
Vance Gilbert, everybody. Amelia Attridge, Stacy Babb helped put us the show together. Thank you all very much for coming out, everyone.